With the release of the God of War Valhalla DLC, we got plenty of new content centering around Kratos and his story of redemption, and during his journey he actually gets help from the Norse God of War Tyr and even Freya to some degree. These two are some of, if not the most powerful people that are alive currently in the Norse saga, and the question I want to ask you all today is, who would win if these two were to fight? Well, in today's video, that's what we're going to be finding out. And before the video starts, please don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, and comment to help support both me and the channel. We need to get these numbers closer together, so please consider subscribing since it's free and you can always change your mind if you don't like the content. And with all of that being said, let's go over Tyr first and discuss how powerful he actually is. To start off, we know that Tyr scales above Kratos during their battles in Valhalla, and Kratos doesn't even slightly surpass him until their fourth and final fight. With the description for the DLC on the PlayStation website, it stated that Kratos faces challenges of both his body and mind, but he also needs to fully master both of these things to truly confront his past, which Tyr also reiterates to Kratos before their first fight. We also learned that Tyr has entered Valhalla on his own before and was able to fully master his body and mind, which seems to give quite a huge amp since Tyr was leagues above Kratos in terms of skill and arguably power, since Kratos said in his journal that Tyr is among the most formidable opponents he's ever faced, and that he feels his skills grow while battling against him. But to really try and explain just how strong Tyr is, I'd like to further discuss the formidable opponent statement by going over noteworthy people Kratos has fought in comparison to Tyr. So let's get into it. I'll start with one of the earliest foes that Kratos has faced, with that being Baldur. He was someone that gave Kratos some difficulty during God of War 2018 and could not feel pain. That is, until his curse was broken and Kratos was able to eventually defeat him. But what makes him impressive is the fact that he was able to knock out the World Serpent in 3 hits, and the World Serpent and Thor battle at Ragnarok, with their clash being so great that they splintered the Yggdrasil and the Serpent got sent back in time. The Yggdrasil is a tree that has branches that stretch out infinitely and has each of the 9 realms resting on said branches, meaning that they were shaking all of the realms, which Freya states to Kratos in 2018. And he was just the first and arguably weakest of the Norse opponents that Kratos has fought. The next is Sigrun, and she is the definitive strongest opponent Kratos has faced in God of War 2018. She was stated to be the most powerful Valkyrie of all and was said to be an extremely tough fight compared to the other 8 Valkyries. In the Valhalla DLC for Ragnarok, Gunnar states that she is the mightiest of the Valkyries, and Kratos in his journal says that Sigrun was the most lethal opponent he and Atreus fought in 2018. Lethal in this context meaning that Sigrun was the most capable of causing death to Kratos and Atreus, which would make her a greater combatant than Baldur. Next there's Thor, and he's been said to be the strongest Aesir god, barring Odin of course, and was said to be the biggest, baddest Aesir god of them all, again barring Odin. He's also been said to be the champion of the Aesir and to be the concept of pure power itself, with Kratos noting that Thor's physical strength is the strongest that he's felt up until that point, and his hammer Mjolnir compounds his power, which means that it intensifies it and makes it greater. And Kratos during his final fight with Thor was beating him up pretty casually while Thor was bloodlusted and going all out. Next is Odin, and while he wasn't an extreme physical threat like Thor, he was indeed a magical one, and he was super cunning as well. And also for those super weird scalers, you guys know who you are, Odin is stronger than Thor. This is supported by the fact that Kratos, Freya, and Atreus needed to jump Odin in order to beat him, and they couldn't have done it any other way, while with Thor, Kratos just beat him in a one-on-one fight while he was bloodlusted and going all out. Then there's Gná, and during post-Ragnarok, she was definitely the strongest opponent for Kratos at the time. Right after beating Odin and the credits rolling, Sigrun and Freya talk about Gná still being alive, and Freya immediately tells Kratos that she will be a problem for them, and they need to find and stop her. And when Gná shows up to fight, Freya literally tells Kratos to only attack her if he feels ready, and they need to both fight her together, meaning that neither post-Ragnarok Kratos nor Freya can beat her in a straight one-on-one fight. Something else to note is that usually Kratos can punch or move a Valkyrie off of him during their QTE sections, but with Gná, Kratos cannot do that and Freya has to jump in to save him, which implies that compared to the rest of the Valkyries, Gná is on another level, and she's also stated to have deadly skill as well. And then there's Heimdall, and he has quite a few feats and statements that made him a threat to Kratos as well. Heimdall has the uncanny ability to read people's intentions and can see into the future, and he showcases these when talking to Atreus on the way to Odin's lodge.
Yes, why not steal anything that is not nailed down? That is sure to impress your hosts. Just ask your questions already.
How'd you know I had questions?
It is my job. Next question.
What is your job?
I protect the realm I love from trouble.
And you think I'm trouble? You just met me.
And I can already see you are eager to prove yourself. Way too eager. Probably due to an overshadowing father figure you can never live up to.
Good guess.
I would also guess that you are disrespectful, entitled, and impulsive.
You don't know me at all. I help people.
Oh, you are here to help people. No. You are here to help yourself. To manipulate and lie to whoever you have to get what you want. I know you're young, your voice probably dropped while you were climbing the wall, but what a twisted little soul you have. You are chaos in a spiffy archer suit. I watch your mouth move and I see cities burning. Nothing good is going to come from your being in Asgard.
And when battling against Kratos,
I can feel your frustration. It is immensely satisfying. Wait. What is going on in that empty little head? Oh, no. You are going to spare me out of pity!
Let it go, you may live.
Is this about the little runt? Oh, now I am definitely going to gut him.
also during Heimdall's boss fight, he cannot be attacked with the Blades of Chaos, Leviathan Axe, or even Kratos' bare hands. And when trying to use his Spartan Rage, it also doesn't work, and Heimdall can still weave all of these punches. And Heimdall's foresight is also so impressive that Santa Monica Studios made a tweet and said that Heimdall is one of Odin's most formidable weapons, which would put him either in the same tier as Thor, possibly put him above, depending on how you interpret the statement. Kratos also reinforces this idea and calls Heimdall a formidable foe in his journal, and Freya thinks that it's a good idea to battle Heimdall together with Kratos, which should show how much of a threat he is, just like Gunnar and Odin. So what was the point of this? Why did I go over all these different people that Kratos has put in that formidable tier of power? Well, it's because tier scales above them. Well, most of them. Let me explain. So when someone enters Valhalla, the realm humbles the person who enters and puts them in their base, as we see with Kratos. This would mean that all of the equipment, armor, and power that Kratos gained over Ragnarok is not present, and he's at his beginning of Ragnarok level of strength. And Tyr is much more powerful and skilled than Kratos to a point where he needs to beat him 4 different times to fully master his body and mind. It's also important to note that Tyr is not holding back at all during these fights.
You must admire Tyr's skill after so long in captivity. But don't hold back. As you can see, Tyr won't hold back. He would never disrespect you like that.
Why exactly are you attacking us?
Consider it a kind of trial by combat, Mimir. When Kratos can get the better of me, we'll know his mind has done the work.
Sigrun also stated that during the Valhalla DLC that losing to Tyr was not a bad thing and that he had no peer in combat.
There is no shame in falling to Tyr. He is without peer. For now.
This is impressive because Kratos and Freya are still alive and are present in front of Sigrun, so he would be more skilled and stronger than a post-Ragnarok Kratos and Freya. And she's more than likely thinking of them when making this statement. And this also rebounds back to the Kratos statement where he says that his skills are growing with each fight he has with Tyr. But with all of Tyr scaling out of the way, let's go over Freya and see how she does in this matchup. Kratos has also fought against Freya, and her feats and statements are just as good. She was stated to be an equal combatant to Kratos in every relevant metric or stat during Ragnarok. This statement does have seams in it, but it doesn't matter since we actually see Freya being relative or equal to Kratos and was about to kill him during her boss fight during the midpoint of the game before Atreus intervened. Freya also fights alongside Kratos against Nidhogg and was doing somewhat better than him during the fight, even amping his attacks with magic, and they fight Odin together and show relative relativity to one another. So yes, she actually is relative or equal to Kratos during and after the main game. Freya also talks to Kratos and says that she would have beaten him if Atreus didn't intervene, and she even proposes a rematch to find out, in which Kratos rejects. And with everything that I've said, who would win if Tyr and Freya were to fight? I think Tyr would win more times than not, but there are arguments to support Freya that are important to discuss. Firstly is with Kratos. As I said, Kratos is essentially nerfed in Valhalla and isn't actually at his end of Ragnarok power. Valhalla humbled Kratos when he entered, and he doesn't have any of his post-Ragnarok equipment or power. We are told that the armor that we can have Kratos wear is strictly for visuals and does not have any impact to his stats whatsoever, and Tyr is unquantifiably above this base Kratos in terms of power and skill until the end of their fourth fight, and grows stronger after each subsequent encounter. However, because this is a nerfed Kratos and we don't know just how much Tyr is stronger than him by, unless you believe it taking 4 separate fights for Kratos to surpass him is an indicator, then Freya should be above Tyr going by this logic, and her use of magic is basically being unrivaled at this point in the story. Or you can use her being relative or equal, depending on whichever you want to say, to a post-Ragnarok Kratos and being equal to him in every relevant metric as a way to put her above Tyr. However, I do think that because Tyr has fully mastered his body and mind, being said to be without peer in combat by someone who knows Kratos and Freya personally and seen their power, with Tyr himself saying that he is not holding back against Kratos in all 4 of his fights, and Kratos saying that his skills not only improve against him in each fight, but he's also one of the most formidable opponents he's ever faced, just makes me believe that Tyr is stronger than Freya, and if they were to battle, then Tyr would completely destroy her in a one-on-one fight. Thank you all for watching the video, and please don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, and comment to help support me and the channel. If you'd like to watch any of my other videos, then you can watch my Thor versus Freya video and see who would win between those two. Or if you'd like to watch my previous video in where I ranked every character in the Shibuya incident in JJK from weakest to strongest, then you can watch that as well. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video. Take care.